Hey everybody, how's it going? It's CDT5 here, and it's the end of the week, so I'm giving a bit of a report on this team that I made that isn't really all that unique, as well as giving you guys an idea of what I'm looking at moving forward. Now, I named this team Basics because it felt basic. It was the first one to pop up, and just going to go over it. I'm not going to leave a rental code because there are a lot better iterations of this particular team out there. So, Chinpow, Dragonite, Terragos, Terranormal, E-Speed, you just run everybody over. Urshifu and Tornadus, same idea, just Rainy running you over. Fluttermane rounds them out, balances them out. I picked Rillaboom because I found that Indeedee Armarouge was causing me a lot of problems. So it was just a matter of winning the terrain war. Here you can win the weather war. You could also use Iron Hands. You could use Heatran. You can use Cleavor. Pretty much you can mix a lot with these five in particular. I like Rillaboom personally, and most people who have been doing Rillaboom do Terra Fire, which I think is the better option. So that's part of the reason why I say pick up more people's rental codes, because honestly I just didn't have the time to farm Fire Terra Shards. It takes like a couple hours, and I just don't have a couple hours in a day. But this is also, I'd say, one of the most reliable teams. I tried Sandy Shocks and it was abysmal. I have like a 70-ish% win rate with the Rillaboom and like a 30% win rate with the Sandy Shocks, and that just shows how important picking that last Pokemon is. You definitely need to be intentional about it. So that was pretty much the first week. I ended up going about 55% overall, which I thought was really good because I don't consider myself highly skilled at the game. So with that being said, we're going to look at 15 different Pokemon, and a lot of these have been explored already, but I'm just going to give my perspective of what I want to do with them and go from there. Alright, starting with Samurott. So big shout outs to Cybertron and James Beck and the person who created what seems to be a viable Samurott build. What they had was an Assault Vest Terra Fairy with Aqua Cutter, Ceaseless Edge, Sacred Sword, and Aqua Jet. With all due respect, I don't like it. I just don't. Aaron did a really good job of utilizing it, and so did James. There was one point where James found it underwhelming, but Aaron was pretty happy with it. And these are big Pokemon YouTubers that I just listen to at night when I'm working. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, look up Cybertron, look up James Beck. They are leagues better than I am. But that being said, I think focusing on the Ceaseless Edge part is actually an error. And what I'm going to be trying is the Sharpness build with Focus Energy. You see Focus Energy down there, because all of these cutting moves, maybe not Sacred Sword. I'd have to double check Sacred Sword. Let me look real quick. So let's see. Okay, so it doesn't have the increased critical chance like Night Slash and Aqua Cutter. And if you look at these moves, this Pokemon actually has a whole lot to offer as far as increased crit chances. There's the Aqua Cutter, there's the Night Slash, there is the, what is it, the Slash. Let's see, Slash, Fury Cutter, Razor Shell, Slash, and there's one more that I don't have here, but Focus Energy allows for every single one of those attacks to crit. So imagine how Urshifu is with the surging strikes, and then imagine that with every single move. And that's going to be what I'm looking for. I'm gonna keep Sacred Sword just because it's a nice balance, like getting the hit steel types and whatnot, because I think steel types are gonna be a huge problem for them. Alright. Hopefully, maybe I've found something that's worth exploring, maybe not. I'm probably going to change it to Adamant, but I really want to see how well that damage can go out. Alright, Thunderous. I mean, lots of people have already explored it. Thunderous is an alternate to Tornadus, which is already here on the list. I'm just curious about how to play it as opposed to Tornadus, because I got the hang of this first team really well. It's really easy to pilot, and I think that Thunderous is going to be a bit more intuitive. It also has what I consider a slightly wider move pool than Tornadus, so it could be a big benefit to explore the physical side, the snarls and whatnot. Zoroark has gotten featured a lot. This particular one is a bit of a nightmare to deal with as far as combining it with Mousehold and Annihilate, particularly because if it disguises as Mousehold, you can't really tell. I mean, if you do Annihilate, you could Intimidate check, but then if you Intimidate check, you risk the Defiance, so most likely you're not going to do the Defiance. And it's just a lot of mind games. But I think Zoroark actually has a spot for potential as being a general damage dealer as well as a good support mon. And as far as I know, the damage dealing has been the big part, but I really want to see where it goes. When I first tested it out, I had big issues with Ursaluna because I just didn't hit it very well. And I tried and it just failed, but I think there's still more to do with this one. As well as being at least immune to the extreme speed, not necessarily the sucker punch. But if you're disguised as something, you're still playing a mind game. But more often than not, it's going to get sucker punched to oblivion, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, Regieleki. I really like this little guy. I really do. I just like the way he bounces around. But in all seriousness, I think as far as pacing goes, Aleki still has a lot of untapped potential. And yeah, a lot of this stuff has overshadowed it. Like, who cares about speed when you can just priority it? But it also gets extreme speed, which I think is super underrated. Like, if you run a physical set, its physical and its special set stats are similar. But yeah, you can do extreme speed. I think you can also teach it wild charge via TM. So there are lots of ways you can play it. You also have Terra that you can play with here, and and yeah, I wonder how much of a difference it'll make with Chin-Pao. I don't think it'll be that great. It'll probably still be best as a special attacker, but I think it'd be worth checking out. Now, this Arcanine I just threw over from Legends Arceus. It doesn't have any of the stats I'm looking for. None of these guys do, by the way, except for the Samurott, which I'm in the process of training. But Arcanine, the Hisui Arcanine, I really am interested to see how this guy does. Excuse me. Now, more often than not, it's going to be Intimidate or Rockhead, and I want to spend some time with both, just because as far as the meta goes, For Dragonite, I personally picked Inner Focus because I did not want to be Intimidate spun. But when you look at things like Ursaluna, if you look at, I mean, even, heck, this Urshifu, at some point it's going to want to hit something other than Surging Strikes or Wicked Blow. Like, as tempting as it is for those particular mons to be one-dimensional, you don't want them to be one-dimensional. And I think things like Landorus, which is going to be on this list as well as Arcanine, and combining with this Grimmsnarl to Intimidate spin, I'm really interested to see if that breaks open to a more bulky state. And as far as the Rockhead goes, honestly, I just want to click Head Smash and Wild Charge on this guy and Flare Blitz. I want to slap a Choice Band on him and do a whole bunch of damage and see if the dog can stay long enough to make a difference. Hopefully I just don't run into a whole bunch of Urshifus and Basculegions and all that, but we'll see. Alright. Next, Ghost Horse. Ice Horse has been getting a lot of attention because, honestly, in my opinion, it holds up better than Ursaluna. Like, everybody's on the Ursaluna train right now, and I think Ice Horse just outclasses him. Having that lower speed, being able to Chilling Neigh after every KO and not have to be statused in order to get that benefit. Ice Horse probably is Dark Horse. See what I did there? A Dark Horse for really setting a foot in the meta, and I want to see if Spectrier has the potential to do the same. Now, there's this huge old Fluttermane sized problem that's keeping Spectrier from really popping off, but Spectrier surprisingly has a lot of bulk, and it did not seem like it had that much bulk back in Sword and Shield, but if you look at the stats, it really has a lot to work with, and you can set him up to be a wall, and all he really needs is one Grim Neigh, and it's off to the races. I apologize, I did not think I was going to be making so many Equine puns, but you know, that's how it goes. Alright. Azelf, Mesprit, Uxie. Going to slate these all in the same category. They are what everybody considers a budget Cresselia, and yes, Cresselia is the better Trick Room setter psychic option. Has my other trainer ID. But I'm really interested. I guess they learn the mystical power. I have to level these guys up to teach them mystical power, but they have this move called Mystical Power, which works like Torch Song. Like Skeletor's Torch Song. It's a stab move, and every time they hit, it raises the attack. And I'm interested to see if there's any significance in having a more offensive version of a Trick Room setter that knows Levitate. I think they still do Helping Hand. They're just not so much in the way of support. They feel more like offensive options. Even Uxie, which is just even bigger wall than Cresselia if you don't count the hit points. But I don't know, there's just something about these three, and I feel like what they bring to the table is getting really underrated right now, and I'd love to see if there's a way to make them more potent, especially since, you know, this one doesn't like psychic moves. This one doesn't like psychic moves. This one doesn't like psychic moves. This one, Fluttermane size problems. What can you say? This one doesn't like psychic moves. So there's a lot that these guys can hit really hard. There's also Sneasler, Sneasel, I guess Cleavor would be alright, but I'm really interested. I'm going to probably spend a week focusing on one of these three, but I haven't picked which one, which is why I put them all there. Alright, Pawmot. Now, Pawmot has been the forgotten child ever since Iron Hands came around. But what I like, I think, if I remember right, Pawmot can learn Fake Out. Can learn Nuzzle, Wild Charge, whatnot. But I think Fake Out is on its moveset. And I'm curious to see, because if I'm not, I thought this guy outsped Urshifu too. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Give me just a second. I should have had my my showdown up, but I really want to see what Revival Blessing will also do in this type of meta. Because it's just untapped. And nobody's really checked out what it does. And I mean, I guess you could do Rapska too. And Rapska also works with Ursaluna because it has telepathy and everything. But give me just a second. Double checking on the speed. Sometimes Showdown takes a second to load up. By the way, this is a perfect segue into this. I want to say, you guys are... I'm not going to ask for any likes. I'm not going to ask for any subscribes. I'm not going to ask for any comments, anything like that. I just want to let you know that if you're watching, if you decide to hang out with me, I'm glad you're here. I hope that you're enjoying it. And I hope that you continue watching. And that's pretty much everything I need as far as this channel goes. Okay, Pawmot's speed is actually 105. Which outspeeds quite a bit, honestly. So, this guy behind Tailwind can do a whole lot. It makes... I'm going to have to experiment and see if Pawmot can KO Urshifu just with Double Shock. That seems like a very useful calc. But, yeah. It could be that this one might work almost as well as Iron Hands. I still don't expect it to work as well as Iron Hands because that's a big guy. He's got a lot of beef. But moving on. Enamorous. A lot of people know what Enamorous already does, but it seems like people decided to stop exploring it for some reason, and I really like Contrary as an ability. It can deal with Intimidate. It speeds up if it gets hit with Bleak Wind Storms, and it does the speed lower. You can combine it with Grimmsnarl's Parting Shot, give it stat boost as well as a pivot, which is something I was experimenting with earlier, but I think the double dipping the fairy was the problem, so maybe I'll look at changing the Terra type for Enamorous. Because, I don't know, like, it feels like it could be the strongest out of all the genies. It just needs a little bit of work. Grimmsnarl, everybody's been running Grimmsnarl. It's very important because there's all this damage all over the place, and this guy has to get changed a little bit because he just gets E-speeded to death. And then I have these three right here. The Brute Bonnet, the Azumarill, and the King Gambit. And I think the most important thing about these three is the fact that they speed tie with Ursaluna. So they personally check the Ursaluna in multiple ways. Like, first of all, they all have priority. So whether you're in or out of Trick Room, you can still pop Ursaluna for significant amounts of damage. Sucker Punch is no slouch from either of the dark types. Aqua Jet or Ice Spinner can hit super effective. And honestly, like, I'm in the school of, I think Ursaluna is, it's just got too much hype, and it's not as strong as everybody thinks. I would not put it in the top 10 of the Pokemon in the format. It's just in the top 15 in my opinion, but I really think building around this set for Trick Room as well as Ursaluna could be super useful. Like, you can safely Earthquake with this one. There are some Terrifying Kingambits around that I can play with. You can also do that with Enamorus, the 3 Guardians. So I really like these 3, and as you can see, like, I already got these guys set up, so they'll be easy to play with and whatnot. But that is everything. These are the 15 I'm probably going to hone in on, and I'm going to see if there's something I can do with them. Maybe I'll enter a local competition or something like that. But I'm having a lot of fun with this format. I think that it's really challenging. It's just enough power creep to really demand better gameplay out of people. This one is the most unforgiving, strenuous format that we've had so far, and I think that's great. And aside from Worlds being the first tournament for the format, I think that part's an issue. But as far as this format in general, I think it's great. I just wish they would bring in this one and this one. Let Walking Wake and Iron Leaves play, please. Come on. Come on, Pokemon Company. Let these 2 come into play. Alright. But, there you go. There's the recap on all of them. It's all the ones that I'm going to be working with this month. And who knows? It could be that I end up being the worst ranked player in the entire world. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But we're going to have a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys continue checking these out with me. I really like them. Thank you so much for watching again. I really appreciate you guys. As always, just enjoy your day. Make sure you tell the people around you that you care about them. And have a good one. Take care.